Good evening, good evening, everyone. Maneco 64 here. Happy New Year. I'm just forgot to put something on here. This light. Just wait a second. All right. Hopefully that's better. I've got my Billy Airways sweatshirt today. Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. We've got quite a few people here already. 65, 29 thumbs up. Billy is here. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Yeah, the title of the live stream is about heavy treasury note issuance. We'll go into that in a few minutes. Just wait until everyone comes aboard. We've got Mike Silverman from Wisconsin. Rumpelstiltskin. Yeah, he's in Japan. It's early for him there. He's up though. Phoenix FP40 is here from France. Pablo Pina. Hi, Pablo. I think it was Pablo's idea about Billy Airways. I'm wearing it today. Ben Gray. Hi, Ben. John the Glass. David B. Victor Claudio. He's here. Phil 488. Jillian from Perthshire in Scotland. Pat is here. A lot of people here from everywhere around the world, which is a good thing. Shane Sturgis from Kent. Shane's been a long-time viewer. So, yeah, Happy New Year to everyone. Let me just do something here. Yeah, it looks like in the UK, can you hear me well, just to make sure with the microphone? Okay. Can you hear me well? Yeah, good. Yeah, here in the UK, they're talking about maybe even a tier 5. So it looks like people are buying into this still. I know there's a lot of people that aren't. So, yeah, we've got a few more minutes until 9 o'clock. Yeah, Billy is relaxed. He does need I think his groomer's coming next week or the week after. It's about time he had a groom. He started. We do give him baths sometimes, my wife and I, but we usually wait for the groomer. He needs a haircut. Paul Weens from southern Manitoba in Canada. BS19 Plandemic. Yeah, I found a really good channel. I think I spoke about it in one of my videos recently. I highly recommend it. It's a new channel on YouTube. It's growing quite quickly because they've got some interesting people they've interviewed. It's called Truth Matters. I was just listening to an interview they did with an American lady in Ohio. She runs a healthcare company in Columbus. Pen Poppers, that's really good. Just under an hour. I highly recommend it. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat donation. So what's a treasury note? Because that's the title of my live stream. Well, treasury note is a type of bond, U.S. Treasury bond. So from usually the U.S. Treasury issues debt from like a month, they're T-bills, 1 month T-bills, to a year, they're all T-bills. And then from 2 years to 10 years, they're called notes. So what's happening now is that last year, 2020, the Treasury used a lot of, they issued a lot of short-term bills. to finance all the debt that they borrowed. And this year, they're going to have to go back to or increase. I think net, not including what the Fed goes and buys. They're going to have to issue more, like $2.2 trillion more of notes. So any bond maturing from 2 to 10 years, and that could put a massive pressure on interest rates because the only way to attract investors is to have higher rates. So that means bond prices could go down, and it's going to be, it looks like people are starting to worry about it. I've interviewed a guy from the Endgame Investors. Most of you probably seen his interviews, Rafi Farber, and he was talking exactly about that. And this was a month or so ago. He was talking about the fact that people in the mainstream were not worried enough about all this issuance of long-term treasuries that had to be done this year. But now it looks like even the mainstream has caught on to it. There's a very interesting article in the FT from the 30th of December, and even the people on Wall Street are starting to worry. So I think we need to keep an eye on interest rates or yields, like the 10-year yield, even shorter term yields as well, like 5 or 2 year yields. The Treasury usually issues 2-year notes, 5-year notes, 7-year notes, and 10-year notes. The 30-year is called a bond. So everything above 10 years is a bond. I think they do have a 20-year bond, but the 30-year bond is more usual. That's what they issue. That's called the long bond. But I think the problem really is with the fact that they're going to have to issue a lot more of these T notes, these 2 to 10-year notes this year. I think the average since 2008 has been 40 billion monthly of these notes. And now they're going to have to increase it to like 80 billion. And we're seeing as well that foreigners are buying less and less bonds. So this is something we're going to have to keep an eye on. So over here says, do you think exuberance euphoria? Just before I go further, thank you, Upper Darby. I didn't see your super chat there. Thank you for that. Over here says, do you think exuberance euphoria is an indication that we're in the last leg of the US dollar? Should we be buying precious metals, even the spot price and premiums? Over here, there's only one way to protect against not only dollar debasement, it's going to continue. They don't have any choice. The central banks, nor the treasuries or finance ministries around the world, especially the Western world, they're going to keep inflating. They're going to keep printing. Do you think people in Venezuela that were worried about buying precious metals because of the premium? That was a big mistake, wasn't it? So it's the same thing here. You should ignore the premiums. You should get the best deal you can and not worry about the premiums, because it's a matter of protecting your savings. Yeah, Lord Humongous, Maneconomics, that was a good idea. I've designed a few T-shirts, sweatshirts, and mugs with Maneconomics on it. Thank you for the idea. My wife had an idea the other day, and you might want to see this. It's funny. It's got a photo of Billy, done mugs and T-shirts, and it says, snore on and keep stacking, because Billy snores a lot. A lot of the new viewers, they're surprised that Billy snores, but I think the Shih Tzus, a lot of times, because of their muzzle or their nose, it's not long enough, so some of them don't breathe as easily. But Billy's doing well. He's going to be 13 this year, so he's doing well for his age. Yeah, Bitcoin fees. I mean, I remember years ago that the big thing about Bitcoin is that it would democratize finances, transferring money, that it would be cheap, that you would cut off the banks and the credit cards or PayPal. But yesterday, I liquidated some cryptocurrencies based on some alt currencies that I earned from DTube and other platforms, and I turned them into Bitcoin. And It was about $100, which isn't too bad, just for posting videos on platforms. But when I sent it to my wallet, uh, they took $15 worth of Bitcoin of fees. So and it took quite a while. It took about 45 minutes for me to get it in my wallet, maybe even more. So and but people now say, "Oh, you have to use something else because Bitcoin is too slow." But I'm sorry, in the beginning, that was the whole purpose of Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin is going crazy. I know we're around 33,000. It's mad. I think it's been up to 35. Even Ethereum today is approaching 1,000. I'm just watching it. I'm sticking to my precious metals. Call me old fashioned, but that's the way it is. Lily Robbins says you can buy gold and silver with Bitcoin at SD Bullion. Okay. The herd running into crypto. Yeah, it feels like it. I don't know if any of you know about someone yesterday, because I tweeted something and someone replied that apparently there's a lot of manipulation with Tether, which is a stable coin that's supposed to be backed one to one with US dollars, that people are basically creating Tether out of thin air to buy Bitcoin. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into that. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today, because Rafi Faber, and I recommend his his newsletter. It's on Seeking Alpha. It's called the Endgame Investor. I think it's about $20 a month. He does some pretty good analysis, and I have his newsletter, and he sent his weekend report, and he was noting a few things on inflation and also backwardation. I'm going to explain to people what backwardation is today. So basically, in a normal commodity market, futures market, for example, let's say wheat. Let's say you buy January wheat, which is the spot month, right? And the price is like 600 cents. But if you buy January 2022 wheat, the price should actually be higher. That's called contango. And what does that mean? Well, it means that it adds the cost of storing the wheat, and also the interest that you'd be giving up if you sell the dollars to buy the wheat. So usually the future price is higher than the spot price. That's contango. That's a normal commodities market. But Rafi has been following this because a lot of commodities now, they are in backwardation. What does that mean? Well, that means that the price for spot delivery is higher than the future price, which can happen maybe to one commodity if there's a shortage of it, if there's a drought or something, or a natural disaster, or shipping lanes are blocked because of war. But he's been following this really close, and a lot of commodities now are even natural gas. So there's almost like at least 6 or 7 or 8 commodities that are into backwardation. What that means is that people want to have real things, tangible goods. What's the flip side of the price of commodities? Well, it's the dollar. It means that people don't want to have dollars. So this could be very serious, and we need to keep following the backwardation. Gold is not in backwardation yet, but that's part of it. I expect gold and silver also to go into backwardation if this is a real thing, if we're witnessing not only the drop in the dollar, continued drop in the dollar, but all fiat currencies. I would expect that to happen. So the other thing he talks about is the quarterly inflation numbers. This is from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. They issue the PCE, which is what the Fed looks at. And I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically he's saying that we should start seeing maybe in the first quarter of this year, and first or second quarter is not really certain, but we should start seeing even the CPI number jump up to like 3 or 3.5%. And he thinks that could really spook the bond market. And it could be a double whammy, right? With the fact that the Treasury has to issue so much extra long-term bonds. So what could happen to the dollar if interest rates start rising or yields start rising, and we start seeing CPI, we start seeing them not even be able to keep CPI below 3%. Well, I think bond yields would rise, but what we could see as well in terms of the dollar, we could see the Fed really put the foot to the pedal and increase their QE to buy more bonds to keep yields low, but that would be really negative for the dollar. So yeah, they can very well keep rates low, yields low, but it's going to be at the expense of the dollar. The other thing Rafi talks about is the fact that the Fed, they don't buy the Treasury bonds or notes directly or bills directly from the Fed. They buy it in the secondary market, because if they bought it directly, that's against the law. And that would be debt monetization, right? Even though what they're doing really is backdoor monetization. But he thinks if we see a failure, because they have these Treasury auctions every week now, and with the increase in size of these auctions, we could see what they call a failure. What does a failure mean? Let's say they issue 80 billion, which is huge for 10-year notes, and they only get like 79 billion that people bid for. So it means the bid to cover ratio is below 1. That would be an auction failure. That could set off rates a lot higher. The dollar could drop. You could see the stock market drop as well. Why would the stock market drop? Well, because if interest rates start spiking, the rate that they use to calculate rate of returns for investments would go up, and then the value of stocks would go down, right? And the other thing that Rafi thinks could happen, and I agree with him, is that we could see actually Congress get spooked, and the Fed get spooked, and the Treasury get spooked. We don't know yet if it's going to be Janet Yellen at the Treasury, right? We still got the hurdle of January 6th, and it's really crazy. But we could see Congress actually give the Federal Reserve the power to directly bid at auctions, and that would be a huge negative signal for the dollar. It might keep interest rates low in the US, but it might spook foreigners even more. And as we've seen, foreigners right now, they're only keeping about 60% of their reserves in dollars. It's at multi-year lows. So I think it's something we need to watch very closely. It could be what sparks even further dollar weakness this year is interest rates and the Treasury issuance and whatever else, politics as well. I think on Tuesday we got this runoff election in Georgia. That will be really key as well. If the Democrat candidates, because there's 2 Senate seats up for grabs, if the Democrat candidates win, that means the Democrats will have a majority, de facto majority in the Senate, and we could see even more spending and deficit spending and issuance and MMT, whatever. And even if they don't win, though, I think it's going to continue because even with Republican president and the Republican-controlled Senate, we've seen the debt balloon anyways. Grow Mechanic, hi, nice to see you. So I'm going to stop here. I think I've covered quite a bit the situation in the bond market. I will keep an eye on it, and I will keep covering this in my videos. Uh, Many of you know that when I worked in the city for over 20 years, well, in the city and in Geneva, when I worked for a small investment firm there or private bank, my focus was the bond markets. So that's something that I'm familiar with. Lord Humongous says that's the reports I received from San Diego to Seattle. Lily Robin thinks the markets will continue to melt up. Hello, Venezuela, my little friend. Remember, they call Venezuela the USA of South America. Well, that was in the 50s when Venezuela was quite a wealthy country. Uh, I think the stock market could have troubles if the Federal Reserve is not able to control interest rates or yields. They probably will, but that's gonna, yeah, that will probably keep the stock markets up. But before we see the Fed step in, I think we could see a big correction lower in the stock market, and then they'll come in and start buying the bonds and lower yields, and then the stock market will go back up, and gold and silver should fly, I think, normally. Yeah, when design digital architecture, end of the bear market, yield bonds rates. I mean, we've had a bull market in the bond price since 1981, so it's like 40 years now. 2021 we're in. That was when the 10-year yield topped at about 16%. Right now we're just below 1%. Last summer it went to around I think intraday was like a third of a percent or 30 basis points. On a closing basis, it was around 50 basis points. Right now, the key level is around 1%. After that is about 1.3. Back in 2018, when the Fed started unwinding the balance sheet and raising interest rates under Powell, we saw the 10-year yield actually go to 3.25%. But then the whole stock market was imploding because of that, so they had to stop. So yeah, there's a lot of room on the upside for yields, and that would impact yields for junk bonds, low rated corporate bonds as well. That would truly decimate the economy even more than it's been decimated recently. Young Austrians, will the silver rigging stop in 2021? I mean, yeah, I think silver broke out in 2020. Yes, we went down to like 11 in March, and then we just it was like a bear market trap. We went to 30. Yes, they've been able to cap it the last few months of 2020, but we still closed around 26, 30, 35. So silver is still up about over 40% in 2020. Yeah, I think they will have a tougher time keeping silver down, especially if we break through 50, which is a key level. Lord Humongous says Gavin Newsom's trying to sell California to China. Bobcat Brand, do you see a plunge in markets and precious metals in the next 6 to 8 weeks? Um, I don't know about the precious metals, but the stock market, we could see a big, like a sharp drop, short term drop because of Treasury yields. As I said earlier, I don't know about gold and silver. I think gold and silver are going to stay pretty firm, to be honest. I think we had already the big correction, from over 2000 in gold down to like 1760. Same for silver, from 30 to around 23. Yeah, I had a call from someone in the States yesterday, someone who lives in New York, but has been spending a lot of time now is in Arizona. And this person was telling me that, you know, uh, it depends a lot on which state you're living right now in the States. Like Florida, they're basically as running normally now. Texas, I think, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, even Ohio. I was listening to this lady, what's her name, Pam Popper. I recommend this interview. It's on Truth Matters. You guys should look at Truth Matters. It's a new YouTube channel, and there's an interview with this lady that runs a health company in Columbus, Ohio, and she was saying that Ohio is running almost back to normal. They've had a lot of lawsuits against the state, and they're having a tough time imposing everything, all these rules. Here in the UK, unfortunately, people are acquiescing, and it looks like it's going to get worse here. The restaurants are all shut here. Yeah, that's what I heard, Jack B. And the guy I spoke to is in Arizona, and he said that things are normal over there, pretty good. Yeah, I've watched Jeremiah Babe. I think he's in Palm Springs area, the desert area in California, and it's pretty bad there. So I have a sip of my water. I've got my NDECB mug. Young Austrians, I think the Great Reset, they're going to try it, but it's not going to work. And why is that? Well, because I don't think centralized systems can ever succeed. I think we need to move more and more towards decentralization, more local power, like Catherine Austin Fitt talks about. I think that's where we need to go. Decentralization. We need to do things at the local level. So this great reset is a it's a globalist wet dream of one world government and total control from the center, and that never works. uh, I don't think it's going to last that long. I don't think people are going to buy into it. Vincent Migto spent his stimulus check in Mexico. Yeah, Jeremiah Babe, he did a video. There's, I think it's called Dutch Boys. I think it's a coffee place in the States. I never heard of it, but apparently there's a line or of cars, or queue as we call it in the UK, like an hour, people queuing or lining in their, waiting in their cars to buy a latte. And he said they're probably spending, their stimulus checks here because the lattes are like $7. I mean, I could think of better things to do than waiting an hour to buy a coffee. I just make an instant coffee in my kitchen. I do like a latte, but I wouldn't drive for over an hour to get a coffee. Bob Hunter, thank you for your super chat. This is a call out for little littlesis.org by Allison McDowell. Okay, littlesis.org. I'll have a look at that. Yeah, oh yeah, Dutch Brothers. Yeah, not Dutch Boys, Dutch Brothers Coffee. Yeah. So some people think a lot of people are using the stimulus check to buy cryptocurrency. Well, they did coincide. The move has coincided. The last move is, it's only $600, right? So I don't know if you're going to be getting more, another 1,400. Yeah, Lily Robin. My wife always jokes because I'm originally from Brazil and I'm supposed to be a coffee specialist because I'm Brazilian, but I like instant coffee, the Nescafe instant coffee. My wife likes filter coffee. So for it's much easier. Just a little teaspoon, put the water, and that's it. And I'm ready. Oh, I took some coins out, some silver coins out before I started the live stream because a lot of people. Girl OG says 2020 was my best year. Could see people around me take the download nearly daily. You take the. What does that mean? Take the download? You mean the lockdown? And what do you mean was your best year ever? So let us know. Oh, Donald Best. My family is from Rio. My grandfather started Lojas Americanas. Oh yeah, I know. I remember. My mom used to take me shopping for clothes when I was a little boy at the Lojas Americanas. Donald Best. It. Yeah, yeah. That was a big department store in Brazil. Anyway, a lot of people, I heard someone make a comment maybe a week or 2 weeks ago about getting a dollar ounce of gold. And the real silver dollar though is less than an ounce. When silver is used as a currency and money, it's actually about 0.72 of a troy ounce, and that's like a real dollar that used to circulate, right? And it's called. I think this one is from 1921. It's a Morgan dollar. I think it's the last year that they minted the Morgan dollar, and then you have what today they call $1, but it's an ounce of silver, and this old one is 90% silver, right? But the new one is, and this is a bullion silver coin. That's the difference, you see. That's used to circulate, or you could call it junk silver, and that's the bullion silver. So that's the difference. If people don't know the difference between bullion and junk, so this is 90%, this is 100, well, 999 silver, and that doesn't circulate. And this technically isn't right. They call it a one ounce silver $1. It's not a dollar, right? Technically. This one's from 2004, that one. And then this is another bullion coin that I have here. This is the maple leaf from Canada. They're really nice coins as well. There you go. They're 999 pure silver, so they're not circulating coins. They're bullion. And I just wanted to show you as well. If you look at the quarter from 1964, and I've got a quarter here from 1990. Look at the difference. You can see that one is silver on this side here. That's silver, and that's the copper nickel here. There you go. That's how you can tell the difference. That's silver, and that's basically base metal. I know, Lord Humongous. It's not a great thing to call it junk silver. That I know what you mean. I guess you could call it old circulating silver coins. Grow Mechanic is a junk collector. There you go. Yeah. Make sure you don't buy junk bonds. Grow Mechanic. Junk silver is good, but not junk bonds. uh, TIM. Did you see Hugo Salinas Price son pumping Bitcoin to Mexico citizen? He said 10% of his liquid portfolio is in Bitcoins. I bet he has a lot of libertarians too. Yeah, I saw that. I'm not sure his dad would agree with him. It's quite easy for the very wealthy to come out and talk about Bitcoin and put maybe some money into Bitcoin. And a lot of these people have offshore companies where they can keep everything offshore and away from the tax man. That's what you need to remember. A lot of people are going to be liable for capital gains tax if they're in Bitcoin and they've made a lot of money. But a lot of people that push Bitcoin, a lot of them have offshore accounts. They're like offshore, like Raul Paul. I think he's in the Bahamas. So you can bet he doesn't pay any tax on that. He's got everything offshore. So you need to be careful with that as well, with the capital gains tax. Mike Silverman, Constitutional Silver Coins. Yeah, that's a good name too. George Cranston, I agree what you're saying there about the bug. Or as I don't know if any of you guys watch Luke Radowski from We Are Change. He calls it the conholio sickness. I don't know. It's quite funny. What else? Yeah, I've got some of my Swiss Army knives. I don't know if you guys like Swiss. I think they're quite good, Swiss Army knives. I got this one here. It's got quite a few things on it. Got a smaller one, which has got a nail clipper, and a slightly bigger one than that one. Basel III. Well, Basel III is just a set of rules for the too big to fail banks. That's all it is. It's not really much to think about. That's Basel III. Yeah, you don't need to be offshore to avoid capital gains tax. For example, in the UK, you can open an ISA account. You have a $20,000 pounds limit every year that you can put, and but you can't really buy Bitcoin through an ISA. You can buy other financial assets through an ISA. What else? In the States, I'm not sure, but in the UK, for example, if you buy gold and silver coins of the realm, there's no capital gains tax there. So yeah, there are ways to avoid capital gains tax, and there's always the threshold. Here in the UK, I think it's £12,000. So on the first £12,000 of profit, you don't pay any taxes. Just over that. The problem is, yeah, Bitcoin. I don't think the Bitcoin itself is how can I say? Um, you can't put it in a nice in the UK. You might want to buy a Bitcoin, something that tracks Bitcoin, but that's not real Bitcoin. Zach Grant Butler. Um, do you think the powers that be will want to start mass chipping people and become a cashless society? Um, I think they're going to try to not. They're going to try to push people into doing it. They don't have to even make it mandatory. So, and I think a lot of people are already, doing it through taking the vaccine. I saw in the Daily Mail yesterday a story about, and it had a photo of people lining up, and they're all like, a lot of them look really young, and they had their stuff on their face, and to take the vaccine. Yeah, a lot of people will do it, but the other thing, they're going to find a tough time forcing people to do it. Yes, the big corporations might force employees or people who are flying with them, for example, airlines, to have, taken the vaccine or whatever. But I also think there's going to be a lot of pushback. Even I read an article about a week ago that in the States, a lot of legal advisors are telling big corporations they need to be really careful, uh, of imposing restrictions on people as it relates to that. So that's the way. I think it's still early days. Joker Alpha, thank you for your super chat. Happy New Year, Mario. With the digital dollar on the horizon, would credit cards purchases be a good buffer to mitigate privacy issues? I, to be honest, Joker Alpha, I haven't used a credit card in years. If you mean debit card transactions, uh, that won't mitigate it because they it keeps track of you, of your name. So the digital dollar, I guess the only way to mitigate, if there is a digital dollar and you can't use any paper money or banknotes, maybe start finding people who would accept, some of these, like the constitutional silver coins. I'm sure, if you're in a small community and you have like-minded people, you could start trying to barter with these, or just use real money to do it. That's the only way I see it. In terms of savings, it's easier because you can always pay your bullion dealer with the digital dollar and take the physical. But for everyday transaction, I guess it's not going to be very different than today because a lot of the transactions we do nowadays is digital anyways. Low blood pressure. That microphone is bigger than Billy. Well, yeah, it is quite big. The microphone, I had it on a stand before and was standing on my desk, and it wasn't the best way to use it. I watched a YouTube video that told me what to do. So I bought this stand. It's like a stand. You can't see it. It's on to this side. So you stick the microphone on it. And I bought this lollipop thing here. So it's a lot better because if you put it on the desk, it's not as clear. Mr. Coffee Break, my bank is trying to loan me a ridiculous amount of money. Why now? Well, probably because you have good credit and probably because they want to put you into debt. They want to make you a debt slave. That's why. Hmm. Uh, Padenda Johnson, Trump will still be president after January 6th. Well, I guess the cutoff is January 20th. January 6th is, of course, when the houses of Congress certify it. But I've seen that a lot of senators, Republican senators, about 14 or 16 of them, are going to vote against the certification. So yeah, things are going to be interesting, and we gotta. I also think Tuesday is going to be interesting in terms of the Senate balance, the runoff in Georgia. Uh, Chris Conman, thank you for your super chat. Where do you think platinum and palladium would be priced uh, at if gold is at 10,000? Would you recommend stacking both as an investment like gold and silver? Appreciate your knowledge on precious metals. I haven't followed palladium as much, but I think platinum is looking good. I think platinum has a lot of room to run. If gold is at 10,000, I would say platinum would be at least at 5,000, I would say. And because I think a few years ago, platinum went to above 2,000, that when gold was at 1,000. So yeah, anything's possible. Palladium would do well as well, of course, but platinum, I've been following it a little bit lately, the last month or so. It's trying to break out. I think it will break out. I think a lot of commodities are ready to break out. The CRB index is looking pretty good. Yeah, and I spoke earlier in the live stream that a lot of commodities now are in backwardation, which means that there's a lot of demand, spot, physical demand now, there's more demand for the commodities than there is in the future, and people are paying more for ready delivery of commodities than in the future. And that's a sign that people don't want to hold dollars, because the backwardation usually happens in one or two different commodities. It's an isolated event, but it looks like all the commodities now are in backwardation. So yeah, I think palladium and platinum are going to go along with all the other commodities, because it's a symptom of currency debasement, not just of the dollar. Of course, commodities are priced in dollars, but also all other fiat currencies. I just heard Billy. He's dreaming. He's stopped. He was going whoop whoop like he was chasing a bunny. He's stopped now. Seeker Neil McCoy Ward has a good diary, a video of the 1930s. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he's based in the UK. Yeah, a lot of those things he said about the 1930s is true. It wasn't a great time, but I think people were probably better off. They were more self-sufficient than they are today. A lot of people still lived in rural areas. They were a little more. They grew their own food, but yeah, it was an interesting time. Uh, I don't know if any of you guys know Pastor Lindsey Williams. He was a young boy during the 30s. I think his dad made a fortune in Florida real estate in the 20s and lost everything in the 30s. So a lot of fortunes were lost. And I see there's some people who think we could see a 2021, not just the general public or the bottom 90% not do well, like they haven't done well this year, but we could actually see the top 10 or top 1% lose a lot of wealth that they think they have, fake wealth, because a lot of the wealth that's been created is all on paper, because the Federal Reserve just created trillions out of thin air. So that's something to keep a close eye on. I think we could see a lot of people who think they're very wealthy because their portfolio is worth so much. They'll probably learn the hard way, and it could happen in 2021. And what could trigger that? Well, a rise in yields, like I was talking about earlier, and it's all to do with the title of this live stream. Of course, the Fed is going to try really hard to keep yields low by creating more and more reserves to buy these bonds. But that's just going to hurt the dollar even more. It will keep the 10% or the 1% will keep their assets inflated. But eventually, I think the Fed can't do that forever, because if the dollar keeps dropping a lot, we're going to see foreigners sell treasuries, and then they're going to lose control of the yields. We still got about 15 minutes. We got 550 people almost. That's pretty good. I think recently the highest concurrent viewership has been around 400. So yeah, only got 201 thumbs up though. We need more thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, if you haven't subscribed to the channel and you're on this live stream, yeah, make sure you subscribe if you enjoy the channel. Jay Singh Grewal says hundreds of thousands of people on streets of Delhi, no sign of COVID. I was speaking, there's a shop nearby where I live, and there's an Indian guy who runs it. His name's Brad. Well, his name is Bharat, but he calls himself Brad because it's more English sounding. And he said, yeah, no one's doing any lockdown or anything in India. He said if people stopped working in India, they would die. They wouldn't be able to buy food. So that's what he told me. John Colorado. Hi, John Colorado. 9,200 feet. Yeah, that's about 3,000 meters. That's quite high up, above the tree line almost, I would say. My sister, my sisters and my mom, my family in Switzerland, where they are, it's about, what is it, 4,000 feet, 4,500 feet, not as high as 9,000. Mash the likes, John. Okay, what else? Let me see. Uh, So yeah, I think yeah, January 6th will be a very important date. I think for the political situation in the U.S. I haven't been covering it. I haven't really trying to follow it too much. I know in the background that you know, there's a lot of people questioning, the integrity of the election in the mainstream. They keep saying that it's like made up accusations, but there's a lot of proof. People with affidavits, right? So it will be interesting. I think it could be a shock to a lot of people. So we'll have to wait and see. Andy Hughes, hopefully 2021 won't have a major war to add to the bug. Middle East tensions building. Yeah, I have a feeling, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, this is a new year, a new number, 2021. Things will be better than 2020. But from what I see in the mainstream media here in the UK, they're pushing for more and more lockdowns. They're trying to panic people and scare people. I have a I've subscribed to like a local neighborhood website called nextdoor.co.uk for where I live. And I see comments there. Oh, there's going to be a new testing place for people who are asymptomatic. If you want to make sure you don't have the bug, go and do it. And people are all, and you got all these people thanking these people, that they can go and take the test. And I think it's crazy. Even if they came out, the government came out tomorrow and said, "Oh, the bug is finished, everything's fine, we can go back to work." I think more than half the people of this country would be scared and wouldn't do as they'd still want to be in a lockdown. I saw that the teachers union, they want to shut down all the schools now, even though we're told that it's not dangerous for children, this bug. So I think they've scared people enough, and I think if Biden becomes the president, uh, they're going to turn a lot toward. They're going to try to turn a lot towards the European model, like the UK model. I saw that Biden said he wants to have the first 100 days that he wants people to be wearing a mask for the first 100 days. What does that mean? So yeah, and I think it's going to create a lot more division in the U.S. because we know there are some states who won't have it. So yeah, things are going to be very interesting politically. But in the end of the day, what we need to I think realize is no matter who's in power, the Congress, the central bank, they're going to keep inflating because they can't stop. If they stop, the whole thing collapses. And if they keep going, the dollar eventually will go down the tubes. And it's not just the U.S; it's going to be everywhere, especially Western Europe, the major countries. Alan Reynolds wants to go off grid and live in a log cabin. Well, the I listened to an interview, and you might find this strange. It's this guy is called Prince Michael of Liechtenstein, which is one of the smallest countries in the world, and it's wedged between Austria and Switzerland. And this is in Truth Matters. This YouTube channel, you should check this Truth Matters. And someone asked this guy, Prince Michael. He's not the Prince of Liechtenstein. I think is one of his cousins, is the guy who runs the country. He's just a businessman, but he's like a Austrian school proponent, economics. And he said, yes, we can all get ourselves into our shells, our snail's shell, and live outside the system. But if we do that, uh, it will take a lot longer to basically try to fight these people, right? So his uh, advice, I guess, his thinking is that yes, do a lot of things, question things, expose things, but try to stay, as much as you can outside the system. But you can't really go into a shell, or else it's going to take a lot longer for us to bring sanity back to the world. Tricky Dicky, thank you again for your super chat. Reckon Sunak will go on a spending spree with the overdraft and spend like mad to generate growth. Uh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. And the growth would be just very temporary. It's like a shot of it's a drug a hit. A drug hit. Like addicts, when they take a hit, they get high, but then the next day there's the hangover. And that's the same thing with printing money. It's not real wealth. Money is not wealth. Money is just a representation of wealth, right? It's a way to exchange wealth, to preserve wealth. But the only way the economy is going to get back to health is for the government to allow people to create wealth, to create services for other people. Printing money and creating credit doesn't do it. It just keeps things going in the short term. Bowman, why stay in the sixth society? Well, yeah, that's a good point. If you can find a place where you can be away from the sixth society, yeah, I would try to do it. But some people are, some people's circumstances don't allow them to. I mean, I would like to move away from. We're not really in central London, but I would like to move away from London, more in the countryside. But we have family, like my mother-in-law. She's not very well. She's elderly. She has carers at home, and we can't just move out. So it's not the same for everyone. Bowman has a tippy in the mountains. Okay. You wouldn't be able to, would you be able to watch Maneco 64 up there? Mike P says, thank you for your tireless work for us all. What do you say to the argument that QE is not money printing and actually taking liquidity away? Yeah, that's the bond king and dollar, I don't know, milkshake theory. No, that, I recommend you watch Best Evidence. John Titus, he talked about that a couple weeks ago. He shows how all the QE has helped pump up the stock market. Let me just thank KZ Atom for a super chat donation. Who is more powerful, the one who control the money supply or the control the infrastructure which the money travels? Well, the people who really control the money supply are the private banks, because they issue the credit, which creates the money supply. And these days, they're also controlling the infrastructure where the money travels, with the card machines, with the SWIFT system as well. Yeah, they're all combined. They're powerful, both of them. I'll get back. So that's what I think, KZ. There, They're both the same. They're doing both things. So back to Q, Mr. Coffee Break. Thank you for your super chat. Can you do a video on the Roaring Twenties and the Great Depression? Not lazy reading, just like your point of view. Yeah, I could do that. Back to QE. Basically, QE is when the central bank, the Fed or the Bank of England, they create, money in their account is called reserves, but it's money, right? But it's called reserves. So they create these reserves, this money, by typing it out of thin air, and they use that to buy treasuries from the commercial banks or mortgage backed securities. And how do they pay these banks? Well, they transfer these reserves to the other banks. And and that's money. The only time it's called money, it's when it comes out of the central bank and the commercial banks. And when it comes into our accounts, it's money. So the commercial banks now have the reserves. So they what do they do with those reserves? Well, they can lend it to hedge funds, to investment firms, to broker dealers, to investors. They can lend it to small businesses, and when they lend that money, that those reserves, that becomes money, and the hedge funds will take that money because it will be money now because it's in their account, and they'll buy stocks. They'll leverage, so it does create liquidity. But yeah, I recommend you watch. I think it was uh, maybe not his last video, but the one before the last. John Titus, his YouTube channel is Best Evidence. He explains, he discredits these people who say that QE is deflationary, which is a complete and utter nonsense, really, to say that. Uh, all right, Bowman, you do have solar power. Great. Klaus Schwab, yeah, he's I've written about, I wrote back in June about the Great Reset and the Davos man that they're behind this thing. Go to my I keep a blog. I don't write there very often. It's maneco64.net. And I think there's an article there about that, um, about the origins of the World Economic Forum. It's quite shady. I don't think they'll succeed, though, in the long term, because centralized power always has a difficult time surviving. Central planning doesn't work. We've seen in the past it didn't work in the Soviet Union, didn't work in Germany in the 1930s. Yeah, it doesn't work at all. Didn't work in Eastern Europe, doesn't work in Cuba, right? Cuba is a dirt poor country. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos. There are some, good YouTube channels. These guys and girls, they travel around the world. I think one of them is called Bald and Bankrupt. He's an English guy, and he was in Cuba, and it's just, yeah, people have health and education, but that's about it. It's a very, poor existence in those countries, and that's because it's a centralized system. Yeah, Billy is really snoring right now, and he's got Skippy there, the Australian. I've got one of the. I got this one because I had the other flags, but I wanted an Australian one. Skippy the kangaroo. Over here, I wonder what happened to Greg Hunter's Saturday interview. I don't know. I mean, Greg Hunter hasn't been making too many videos lately or interviews. Uh, Mangy dude, if we're going to experience inflation, is it beneficial to take loans and pay it back in devalued dollars? only if you can, you know, I don't think so actually, because if they keep doing lockdowns and if the economy slows down and you have inflation, uh, you need to make sure that you have some income coming in to cover the costs of your loans. So, and if you don't, they will repossess your property. I would stay away from debt. I've been telling people here on this channel for 5 years because I've been asked, "Oh, should I borrow money to buy gold and silver?" And I've always told people, "No, get away from debt. That's going to be that is going to be your downfall, not yours in particular, but in general terms. I think if you can stay away from debt, stay away from debt." That's right. Inflation will make us poor if we don't prepare. That's why, you have to keep stacking silver, a bit of gold, and pay off the debt. Yeah, and work hard. There's no secret. You need to keep working hard, have discipline, have a clear head, be healthy. Don't watch mainstream media, TV. Don't read too many of the newspapers, and that's how you do it, I guess. So, John Anderson, another Alex Jones. Rebel County, is silver too vulnerable to have as an investment? No, silver is not an investment. Silver is money, and it's sound money. So, Uh, yeah, no, it's not. The most vulnerable thing you can have is paper money, the so-called Federal Reserve notes, or what they call dollars today, or pounds or euros. It's the time is, you know, of course you need some of that in your bank account to pay your bills, but if you have surplus, you know, money, if you want to call it, I would put it into try to get silver and gold. Bob Hunter, love you all, guys, and thank you all. Baldwin Bankrupts save the cat from Cuba. Yeah, I follow that cat. Yeah, that was funny. They smuggled him out of Cuba, I think, into I don't know where they flew into, somewhere in Europe. I think I forgot. So anyway, uh, yeah, we've gone through the 1 hour mark. So thank you everyone again for showing up for the live stream, and hopefully I think it will unfortunately be another crazy year, but we should be prepared for all the crazy things. I know it's tough mentally and sometimes it gets me down, but we just need to keep going, and try to ignore all the craziness in the world. Try to not acquiesce as much. Try to follow the silly rules as little as possible, I would say. So thank you again and take care. Bye.